Good morning. How are you?
I'm well. How are you? Are you super excited about next week?
I am. I've got all my speakers for May lined up already, so
What?
excited about that.
Terrific. Good for you.
So, yeah, so just I feel like there's probably something enormous that I'm missing.
I bet there's not. Oh, so good. So who's speaking for you?
Jill's gonna do the launch.
Good.
Then my friend, May 8th is my friend Fiona, who is, uh, well, I think she's kind of shifting. She's a health coach, life coach, but she was focused on divorce. And, her story is she just published her book, From Fearful to Fabulous.
Ooh, I love that.
Yeah, so she said she wanted to speak, but she wasn't really sure. So I said, well, maybe come talk about, I don't know, the importance of having a book. We've got somebody in our group who is a book coach, and that would make her very happy.
Right?
So I think she might do that. Talk about that process and what made her do it. And
Good.
she just had her book launch last night. I was looking.
Oh, is she local?
She's in New Jersey.
Okay.
No, sorry, she is not New Jersey. She's in Connecticut. She would, yeah, up in the New York area.
Okay. Very nice.
And then my friend Bev is going to speak, and she is a feng shui expert.
Ooh.
I'm assuming she's going to talk. I don't know what, I haven't looked at what her talk is. Judy's speaking. And
I want to.
Hi. Did you get the email with the link to sign up to do it?
I don't know.
I have no idea. I've been moving.
Yeah.
I'm way out of sync.
I'll post the link. I have a calendar invite set up.
Oh, okay. I don't know that I even saw that.
It's possible that I have not yet sent it out to all of you. I mean, it's been on my to-do list.
Sure.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah, I responded because she'd asked for it in a different meeting. So it wasn't anything I got in the mail.
Yeah. So I told you, Debbie, I was forgetting something. I'll put the link in the.
That's an easy peasy because you're set for May, which is that's a big deal. But yeah, I'd love to speak. And speaking of speaking, hi Rhonda, you're up early.
I am, yes. Good morning.
Hey, happy anniversary.
Oh, thank you.
Wonderful. Well, I think we have people coming. I know we have Susan Shelton texted me this morning that she wasn't going to be here. Hannah won't be here. I'm not sure about Connie Jo because she's in Arizona on vacation.
But she's in my time zone.
Exactly, right? Down in Tucson. Kelly, hello. The part of Jill will be played by me. I'll do my best to fill her amazing shoes because she deserves a break and some fun, right?
Well, they're kicking it up.
I know. All right, we'll go ahead and get started. And as people come in, I know Mary Beth will be here. Just go ahead and thank you, Judy, for starting it in the chat box. If you would put your first and last name and then your email address. This is how Jill takes attendance, but then also knows who to send the recording out to. So good morning, Mary Beth. So here's how we'll do things today. Just as an overview is we'll put our email in, and from there we'll do our 30-second elevator pitches. And Rhonda, you are invited to do that as well.
Okay.
Then Judy is going to introduce Rhonda, and then Rhonda's going to share her wisdom with us. And if there are any questions, we'll leave some space for that. And then at the end, we'll wrap up with lots of love and testimonials and asks and just whatever we can do to support each other. So let's get going. Of course, this is being recorded. So if you don't want it to be recorded, this is not the place for you. and Jill will send out the recording after she returns because it's being recorded to the cloud. I can't do it even if I wanted to. So, all right, so let's go ahead and get started. I have my little Brady Bunch screen just like Jill does, so I'm just going to work my way around. So Susan, would you like to kick us off and let us know who you are and what you do?
So my name is Susan Rose, and I am a copywriter, content coach, all things marketing, content marketing related. More on the writing side than the speaking side, for sure. But I help businesses get their message out there through compelling copy, email sequences, blogs, whatever. A lot of marketing copy. I do a lot of articles and thought leadership, and I attract clients that way for them. And I coach small businesses on how to do that for themselves, because it's a lot of work and it can get very costly very quickly. So that is who I am, and I'm launching a new Virtual Networkers chapter on Wednesday. So I put the link in there. You're all invited to come speak because I love all of you. That's it. That's me.
Thank you. I'm next in the screen. So I'm Debbie Keevan of DeborahKeevan.com. I'm a writer, editor, and storyteller, and I help change-making, heart-centered entrepreneurs tell their stories in a way that helps them attract their ideal client. And I do it via their blogs and taking their blogs to books and then getting them out into the world and leveraging them so they can share all their brilliance to make an impact. And Margaret, who has led the example on how to move.
Well, I'm still unpacking and actually got most of the boxes in my office, and now my bookcase is full instead of empty. And so, yeah, I can give you a few tips, but you probably know plenty. But yes, I'm Margaret Martin, and I work with individuals who want to transform that negative mind chatter and live a life that they really can enjoy. I also work with companies and organizations in providing programs based on the chatter that matters, your words are your power, as well as professionalism, team building, and letting go of conflict and stress in the workplace. And you can find me at margaretmartin.com.
Wonderful. Thank you, Margaret. Judy.
Yes, I'm Judy Kane, and my business is called Aligned Consciousness. And I help people rewrite subconscious self-limiting beliefs. So people come to me for three main reasons: either the big emotions like stress or phobias or grief or things like that that are just keeping them from moving forward, or for goals that they're not hitting for reasons that aren't apparent to them, or that they're just telling themselves lies about and talking nasty to themselves, or physical symptoms of stress. Judy Kane, Aligned Consciousness.
Thank you, Judy. Rhonda, you're next.
So I'm Rhonda Bullish-Lampo. I'm from Denver, Colorado. And gosh, I've worked with Debbie, so you'll hear a little bit about that when I speak. I am a speaker and a health and lifestyle coach. So I work with people who want to go from mediocre and average health to outstanding and optimal health.
Wonderful. Thank you for being here.
Uh-huh.
Kelly Lettman.
Hopefully I have a voice. There's more here than there was on Monday. But I'm Kelly Lettman with Pursue Wellness for You. I'm a functional medicine health coach who works primarily with women who have spent a good part of their life raising kids or developing a career and forgotten how to take care of themselves. Now they have frustrating symptoms or a chronic disease diagnosis, and they just don't want to be stuck in maintaining it, but want to reverse it. Using functional medicine principles, we find the root cause to reverse disease and help the body heal itself. I say pursue wellness for you, wellness for life, because health is wealth.
Wonderful. Indeed. Mary Beth Decker with a new haircut.
Yes. So good morning, everybody. Mary Beth Decker with sacredgrowth.com. I'm still connecting with animals and helping other people connect with their animals. And I teach classes now to help people connect. My goal is an animal communicator in every family. So if you know anybody who might like to join, and it's been a long week for me, but one of the things I really like is when I have people get to see the life from their animals' point of view and how their animals see it, and that shifts everything for the family. And when I see that happen, I feel like, like I'm blessed. So Mary Beth Decker, sacredgrowth.com, where people and pets heal and connect. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Mary Beth. Jennifer. Oh, you're on mute, hon.
Morning.
Good morning.
Sorry I'm late a little bit here. Your haircut looks really cute, Mary Beth. It's very summery. It's real fun. So I'm Jennifer. I'm with Boyu Marketing, and I'm here in Southern Florida. And I consider myself kind of your content powerhouse. So I write for your blog, I write your post for your Facebook, and I spend the time doing this stuff in the background so you can do all the stuff that's fun and that you really need to be a part of for your business, like networking and doing your videos and selling your own product. So if you're looking for anybody to, pick up that back end for you, let me know. And Jennifer with Boyu. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Jennifer. Nancy Linneruth. You're muted. Hold on. You got it?
I just unmuted myself.
It was off and then it was on.
I'm Nancy Linneruth from Seattle. I unblockresults.com, and I am a procrastination coach and EFT or tapping specialist. And so people come to me to get rid of the stuff that's keeping them from creating that life that they know they're supposed to be living, and beyond that, their business that they're supposed to be getting out in the world. So Nancy Linneruth, unblockresults.com.
Wonderful. Yay. Thank you, everyone, for introducing yourselves and putting your information in the chat. So why don't we go ahead, and Judy, would you like to introduce Rhonda? Oh, you're muted.
Okay, try it again. So, Rhonda Bolish-Lampo is a speaker, health and lifestyle coach, and the author of God Winks and Miracles Happen. When Rhonda's husband, Steve, was diagnosed with acoustic neuroma, a life-threatening brain tumor, their lives turned upside down. Suddenly facing brain surgery, they had to reevaluate every aspect of their lives and reestablish priorities. Who would have guessed that things could go seriously wrong and Steve would end up in a coma with only a 2% chance of survival? Rhonda shares her story of caring and advocating for her husband, doing battle with the healthcare system. And using this experience, she offers insight into how to protect all your assets, financially, legally, and health-wise. And now I got to get back to the screen. Okay.
Very cool. Well, thank you for having me. I'm enjoying being with you here this morning, and I want to talk a little bit about a problem that business owners seem to have, and that would be never planning for a rainy day. And so I really want to talk about getting a plan that protects you, and that's in all aspects of our lives. But I do want to clear the air. I'm not a financial planner, and I'm not a lawyer, because some of the things I go through, everybody assumes that. I am, as I introduced myself, and as Judy mentioned, I'm a health and lifestyle coach. And some people are like, oh no, she's going to talk about something I should be taking better care of, like my health. Yes, I am. And I'm also going to talk about finances and legal rights just a little bit. And so I want to start this morning with our story. Judy touched on it just a little bit, but going into a little more detail is helpful. So on this particular day, there were 13 days prior, my husband had critical brain surgery. And on this particular day, it was a normal day at the hospital. And in Denver, it was a massive spring blizzard. I couldn't see the building next to us. And my phone rang, and I got a phone call from the doctor asking for consent for a second emergency brain surgery. And so since I was in the building just down the hallway, I took off running down the hallway, and my husband was in neuro ICU, and I observed 7 medical professionals by his bedside. When you're in neuro ICU and you have that means things are very serious and very dire. And so as the doctor informed me he was going for a surgery and he needed my consent. And that particular consent was going to be the first of 21 consents that I gave for him. And he was whisked off to surgery, the 3-hour emergency brain surgery. And the very next day, I was talking with the head of the neuro ICU and his right-hand man about Steve's survivability. And as Judy mentioned, he was down to a 2% chance of surviving. And so I empowered them to do what they knew how to do, because I knew nothing about neuroscience and nothing about making sure he made it out. And just one of the things he was suffering from was bacterial meningitis on the brain, and he had ventriculitis and he had hydrocephalus. So none of which you survived from. However, he was then in a coma for 32 days. And during that time frame, that's when I really learned a lot about the healthcare system and about how to protect ourselves personally and professionally. And after those 32 days, the good news is he started to come out of the coma. We then spent 6 weeks between rehabs, and he eventually came home, and we had speech, occupational, and physical therapists coming to the house for a few months afterward. And so, as you can imagine, by me mentioning that he came home, he obviously survived, which is a miracle in and of itself. His surgeons, his ENT and his neurosurgeon were like, it was the grace of God and the nutrition he had in his body before he went in for his first surgery. So needless to say, we were going through a lot of complications and just dealing with all of that. And so you can imagine it dramatically changed our lives. Yes, he survived, but we were dealing with a lot of other things. And here we are 3 years out from his surgery, and we're just kind of knocking some more things off of the to-do list to take care of with his health, because he went from a 3 to 6 week recovery from the first surgery to a 3 to 5 year recovery after the second surgery. And so I always say, as the loved one, as the primary care provider, and the health advocate, I was in charge during this time frame really intensely for about 4 months of all decisions related to our household, related to his care, and to be honest, related to my care as well. And so shortly after he was able to come home, he was released with 22 medications. And within about a month to 6 weeks, we got him down to 0 medication, which was also important for his recovery. And so during this time, I feel that I didn't go through the whole situation, the whole scenario, to learn a lot of things about what was going on with us, just to keep it to myself. So now I share it with audiences all over the United States and expanding into Canada. And so what I really learned is what I call a cover your assets checklist. And I want to give you access to it. You can either access it via text, and I'll give you that information here in a second, or through my website, so you can opt in to get it. And this is really what I call common knowledge, but intellectual property as it concerns the healthcare system, and how we take care of ourselves, and how we really protect everything we've already built, right? As business owners, or even as private people. So you can go to my website, which is wealthypeople.com, and we spell wealthy, WELLTHY. And you can get the checklist there. You can also text CYA3 to 31996. So that's CYA3, the number 3, to 31996. And so what that gives you is the actual checklist, and I will go through a few things that are very important on it here in just a moment. But what I really learned is that as business owners, the question is, can you really afford to get sick? Can you afford to lose the time? You know, there's two aspects of it. Lose the time away, or can you afford to lose the income? And so what are you doing to make sure after everything you've done and everything you've built that that doesn't go away? Because I'm a believer, I'm a fiercely positive person, but after seeing the kinds of people that came through the neuro ICU and everything, I'm a believer that it's not a matter of if, but when. You will be in charge of a loved one who's in a critical care situation. And that can happen via emergency, accident, or even medical choice. I just recently had a major surgery myself. And so everything, absolutely everything gets impacted. The home, your stress levels. I know a few of you work with stress as well. Health and finances, everything gets impacted. And so what can you do to really be prepared? So when you get your checklist, you'll see it's broken down into what I call health action items. And that's what I mean by physical health, financial health, and then legal rights. And so financial health is really, how are you protecting your income, short term and long term? And do you know your rights as far as like Fair Credit Reporting Act, those kinds of things, access to cash and assets, and then segueing into legal rights. Do you have somebody who is your power of attorney? And shake your head if you have powers of attorney, wills and everything. That's great. That is great. Powers of attorney are the most important, as I learned. Everybody's like, oh yeah, I have a will. Well, will only is good when somebody passes away, right? So I was in a situation where Steve was in a coma. I didn't know when he would come out, if he would come out, how he would come out. And so I always like to say, we are smart, intelligent people. From the day Steve was diagnosed to the day of his first surgery was 4 months. And we thought we had all of our T's crossed and our I's dotted. And we didn't. And I could not ask him because he was in a coma. It's like, where are certain things? We ultimately had all of those things taken care of, but I did not know that. And the next question is going to be, whoever is your power of attorney, do they know where those documents are? Do they have access to them? Because that's what's critical. We had them, they were in our safety deposit box at the bank. I honestly did not remember that. And so I ended up going to our local district court, and I got guardianship and conservatorship of Steve. And so people are like, what does that mean? Well, remember, that when people have guardianship of a kid, you can do that with an adult as well. But there's a lot more that comes along with it when it's a spouse and you have to prove that you're not stealing your own money and all that kind of stuff. But legal rights and advanced directives and there's even pet trusts now. What happens to your dog if you're terminally ill in the hospital or you pass away? So there's a lot of things to think about, and the checklist kind of covers the basics. But on the health side, I always ask people, do you have health insurance? And so what we know as health insurance in our society in the United States is really sick insurance, right? It only kicks in when you get sick, or you might need a checkup here or there. So you want to have maybe potentially, luckily Steve had a way to, he's an employee with the federal government. So because he was diagnosed in November, he had literally said to me, and I call this a God wink, he literally said to me, I'm going to go ahead and up my health insurance at work in case anything goes wrong. And it kicked in January 1st. His first surgery was March 10th. And that insurance then covered his rehabs and his transports. I ended up having to have him medically transported 3 different times. And so those are what I call God winks. And Debbie knows my story because she's read it. She helped me put my story in writing. And so I really go in depth in the book about all the details and everything that happened to us before, during, and after. Because just because he came home did not mean that everything was hunky-dory and the story was over. And I always say that's when the hard work for me really kicked in. I wasn't a neurosurgeon. Couldn't do things. I could help him as much as I could during rehabs, but obviously that was somebody else's priority and expertise. So when he came home, it was really learning how to coordinate everything. And so when he came home, I mentioned earlier, we got him off of the 22 medications. We went back to, which is huge, by the way. You don't realize everything that they're needing in a coma and recovery. And another God wink is the fact that he had both what I call Western medicine and Eastern medicine, and God winks in the middle of it to make everything happen. It really had to be them saving his life and then him coming home to recover. We got protein smoothies and everything back into his body as quickly as possible. And so that's what I always call real, true health insurance, is what are you doing to fill in the gaps that you already have deficiencies from, no matter what you're doing. If you're on a special diet, if I have a client who's a smoker, it's like, no matter what you're doing, we all have deficiencies, and it's just really to learn how to close those gaps so that you can have optimal health as much as possible. And the number one thing that I always share is know your numbers. And what do I mean by that? That means knowing what your resting heart rate is, your blood pressure is, your cholesterol levels. I even go so far as to say know what your eye pressure is, because you really need to know what your normals are so that you can advocate for yourself or for a loved one in the event that they're trying to do medications or prescribe this or prescribe that. And when you know your normals, you can advocate for yourself. And that also means knowing your normals for vitamin D levels, and there's even a new trend with magnesium levels. So knowing your numbers is what I say really gives you the power and empowers you to take full charge of your health. And knowing those is critically important. And a perfect example is May 5th, I had major surgery myself. Because I knew my normals, my blood pressure was way off the charts, as you can imagine, right? I have white coat syndrome, most people do, but it was way off the charts. And they're like, is that normal for you? And I could honestly say, no, I know what my normal is. Because they probably would have put me on blood pressure medication. And so the other part about that, the fact that I had surgery, is that my husband and I were able to have literally a 10-minute conversation. A 10-minute conversation of, this is where the will is, this is where the powers of attorney are, just to refresh and review, this is where life insurance is, all that kind of information that's put together. And so I always say a 10-minute conversation is a lot better than going and standing in front of a judge and getting guardianship and conservatorship and having to deal with it on the back end. So, so a 10-minute conversation, it's amazing. It's like boom, boom, boom. We knew where everything was, protecting ourselves personally and professionally. And then I always add on there is create a new health habit for yourself. Maybe that's less alcohol that you drink, or a different type of exercise that you do, and work towards achieving an optimal weight for yourself. And go from there. On my checklist, I also have what I call lifestyle action items, because this particular scenario in our lives, it changed everything. And so our lifestyle changed, and you don't have to wait for a major health drama to change your lifestyle, right? Or to just improve a few things. So there's some action items there as well for what you can do regarding lifestyle. For us, for instance, the first surgery that my husband had, he lost his facial nerve. So he looked like he had a really bad, severe stroke. In fact, everybody assumed he did. Well, that nerve controlled the eye blinking, his ability to smile, even his ability to swallow. So, little things like that in the short term changed, and then long term, we no longer, I ride my bike, but he can't. He doesn't have the balance to anymore. So anyways, this is a comprehensive list that I now share with as many people as possible, because it is just what I call that vitally important. And I encourage people to have conversations with their loved ones, whether it's parents, whether it's a spouse, a significant other. I've had a couple of women who are single who say, who do I choose as my power of attorney? And it's like, who do you, when I say that word, who immediately comes to mind, and go with those. So I'm offering a complimentary strategy session to anyone who wants to take me up on it, to go through the checklist, because sometimes you can check things off really quickly, and other times you really need to have a sounding board of what are your next steps, what are your next priorities. And as I think I mentioned earlier, that because of my husband's excellent health when he went in for the first surgery, that ultimately helped him on his recovery on the back end. And so I'm more than happy to meet with you one-on-one, talk about those. And it may not, I've had several conversations too. You may have everything set up. It may be approaches to, how do you talk to your parents about this? Because they're like, everybody thinks when they do a will, they're going to die tomorrow, right? I've had a will since I was a single woman. And because my husband's retired Air Force, we had to go through a lot of these things in case of deployment and all of that. So I want to offer that to anyone who wants to take me up on it. And it's nice to have that conversation, especially if you're having challenging conversations or haven't had any conversation along those lines with your loved ones. And at the same time, I want to thank Debbie for helping me put everything into a book, into words. And I will say this, when I had an hour consult with Debbie, I was kind of like, I'm not, I was what you would call a reluctant writer, to now I'm a published author. And I had an hour conversation with Debbie, and she really honed in on, we set the launch date, which was Veterans Day, because that's when my husband was diagnosed. An interesting God wink, right? Retired Air Force, diagnosed on Veterans Day. Exactly to the day, 4 months later, he had his first surgery. And the other God wink is literally the title, God Winks and Miracles Happen. So Debbie helped all of that come together for me. And I was just at a networking event last night, and somebody asked me, do you still have books? I'm like, of course I have books. I have one on me. So anyways, that was an amazing process with Debbie, very easy, within kind of start to finish. Published was about 90 days. So it's a true story. So I always tell people it was easy for me to put that information down. I didn't have to come up with characters or a plot line or anything like that. I knew who the characters were, and I knew the story. So thank you to Debbie, and thank you for your time this morning.
Oh my gosh, Rhonda, thank you so much for sharing your story and your wisdom. And of course, Hannah also designed her book cover.
Yes, she did.
So yeah, so we have a whole team involved here. It's great. So does anyone have any questions for Rhonda? I'm sure. it's funny because like every book that I work with, I learned something, and I had already done my will and my power of attorney, but my children are now adults.
Yeah.
Right. So then I have to go back and make sure that they know where things are and who they have to contact. So it was just even today that was like, oh, I got to take care of that detail.
Well, in the United States, we have what's known as the HIPAA law.
Mm-hmm.
And anybody who's 18 years of age or older, children, friends. I have a really good friend who has pseudo adopted another child, and now he's 18. He lives with them. But it's like if they're 18 years of age or older, they need to have their own will and their own sets of powers of attorney. You cannot make decisions for them if they go unresponsive and cannot make a medical decision for themselves.
Right. It's so important to do medical power of attorney for your kids when just before they turn 18.
Yeah.
Financial powers of attorney. Yeah.
You'd have to go to court, right? To make it happen like you had to do?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, what was that?
I was just saying you'd have to go to court to make it happen, and that takes time.
It did. So ironically, whatever you want to call it, I got guardianship of my husband on Friday, May 13th. I always say Friday the 13th. I've never had a superstition about that. I say it was another God wink. The judge really looked at me and said, do you understand the magnitude? And keep in mind, I'd never been in court before except for observing, like in high school. I'd never been in front of a judge before. And he goes, do you understand the magnitude of what you're requesting? And I'm like, I've already got the responsibility. I just need the paperwork to make sure I can take care of it all.
What are you going to do? You have to take it on. I mean,
Right.
you need somebody.
Yeah, and he understood. I mean, he could tell. It's like, I'm already making decisions and everything. Luckily, because my husband had given permission to me the first surgery, when he was back for his second surgery and all of the care, they just let me keep making decisions. And that was another God wink, because I could have been cut off. If they didn't know me, if he hadn't had the first surgery, I would not have been making decisions for him at all. Because my decisions really had to be, he had to go to 2 rehabs. My decisions had to be which rehabs and how do we get him there, and that kind of thing. So, yeah.
Well,
So, go ahead.
Rhonda, I have a comment, and thank you for that, because it's so important for people to know. Many years ago, I did a presentation in the dental, I was married to a dentist, and so I did a program for the dental spouse, and one of the things at the end of it was, where are your important documents? Do you have all of those things? Probably not as intense as what you have and as extensive. But I had observed, he and I had observed a local dentist who was working on his motorhome, and the airbag collapsed on him and basically had a stroke. So what do you do with your dental practice? What do you do? Do you have, when does your disability kick in? All of these kinds of things that most people just don't think about. And at the time, it was back many, many years ago, and I said, what's the first thing you do when you go for an emergency? What's the first book you pick up? Usually an address book. So you find, somewhere a file in your filing cabinet or something, so that you know where to go to find all the information that you have. So critically important. So thank you for that reminder today.
Yeah, absolutely. My parents I told them, they've always had a will, but it's like, if you learn nothing from this whole episode with Steve and I, get your powers of attorney put together. So they're like, okay, powers of attorney are put together and they're here at the house. And I'm like, that doesn't do me any good because I'm the power. I'm like, that doesn't do me any good. It's a 400-mile drive. And so I said, I need copies in my possession, because if I have to prove I can make decisions, I need them.
Yeah, and that's a reminder for me.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing is, and I haven't figured out the most safe way to do it, I think it really needs to be on our phones. It needs to travel with us, because I have a friend, they were out 4-wheeling in Utah or California, and what do you call it? The four-wheeler, I would say, tipped over and fell on their son, and he ended up passing away. And he was a young teenager, he was like 12 or 13 years old. And because she had access to the documents, she would not have had the ability to get on the plane and bring his body back with her. So she had the documents on her, had access in the cloud or whatever. But yeah, so I'm figuring out a way to do that that's safe as well.
I'm not opposed to a chip. Not. You just beep it and it has all my info. I don't have to tell my husband 400 times, here's where that document is. Where is that document? Why do I need those documents? Oh,
I like the chip idea.
I'm ready.
I'd like to put it in my husband so he could scan himself. So, right? You know?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, so I will just say that one of the things is my brother is my power of attorney because I'm unmarried and my kids at the time were too young. But I also had to make a list of him for like, here's the lock code for this. Here's where you can find. He has all of the documents, but it's like, how do you turn the credit cards off? What's the account number for the electric? All that stuff. And I'm reminding myself, Margaret, that I need to go update all of that now. But yeah, just making sure that they have so you can make it as easy for someone else as possible. And I actually, as you were talking, I actually have Dropbox on my phone. So all the documents are there, but I should probably share that folder with my brother and my kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I wonder if like once a year you could be like you're supposed to do a fire drill that none of us do, but you know, my husband, like I was just saying, it's like, where are those documents? Where are they? Where are they? And he never will remember. And he'll, you know, in a time of panic, he'll be like, Dropbox, how do I get there? You know, and do a little drill. I got to do that because.
Well, I just posted the link. I know a woman who started a company for this very thing called Memory Bank. And
I got that.
For
Nice.
all that stuff. So I've got it. My financial planner has one of these.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just thinking I need to go and update, make sure, you know, everything is organized because you have to do that periodically. And we finally signed our life insurance and long-term disability yesterday. I'm embarrassed that it's taken so long, but last adult thing for this that we had to do.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, Memory Bank is great. So I love it. Yeah.
Very cool.
Rhonda, I was going to say, why don't you put your website address in the chat box, because that'll go out to everybody, even those who will watch the replay, and then also the telephone number and the code to text so that they can get your wonderful checklist. So thank you so very much.
Absolutely.
Any other questions before we move into celebrating each other? And
I did go to wealthypeople.com and didn't see where I would get the cover your assets checklist.
It's right on the homepage. It's the first thing that pulls up. It's
so it's spelled W-E-L-L.
And I see your picture and your husband's picture and stuff about Shackley.
No,
And
the homepage.
Is
You're
there
not on the homepage.
Well, I went to wealthypeople.com and it instantly forwards me somehow. I don't know. So I will text you, I guess.
well, maybe something to look at.
I check it before I speak every time. So there you go. CYA 3 to 31996.
Oh, the wealthy. Okay. I just think that's amazing, Rhonda, because I've been ill a number of times where I've had to be my own advocate. So he's very lucky to have had you.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting because I don't wish any of this on anyone, but I really think that, you know, things can happen in an instant, and be as prepared as you can. It's like my brother was an Eagle Scout, and I'm like, what's their motto? Be prepared.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
And, you know, I have a business, you all have businesses. We've built things, you know, our businesses, and it's like, what are, you know, who's going to take over or what's going to happen in the event that you can't manage it for a while, you know? Yeah.
No one would hear from me or my husband. Nope.
Yeah.
Just go.
MIA.
Yeah.
Well, and the thing too is when you get Rhonda's book, and I do encourage you to do it because it's an amazing story. She just touched on the mountaintop stuff.
Yeah. It's the 30,000 foot view.
I'm telling you, it truly is an incredible story of perseverance and trust, and God winks, and it's just like really, and my father actually had encephalitis and had it undiagnosed for years and had a stroke, 5 years ago now, and was in a coma for 2 months, and he's not close. So when I was reading your story, it brought back so many memories. And, you know, my stepmother wasn't a calm, collected, cool person, and her son has power because they live close by. They weren't even able to ask questions of the doctor in a way because they weren't emotionally able to do it. Mm-hmm. So having just, I think, a little bit of common sense isn't common, but really just being able to ask questions and dig a little deeper and not take things at the surface is a really big deal, and not many people do that.
Yeah, I always say I asked 50,000 questions, probably more than that. And it wasn't that I was questioning the doctor's ability, it's that I wanted to know what was going on and what next steps might be coming, and, you know, that kind of thing. And I mentioned earlier that I'm fiercely positive. I can honestly say throughout this entire time, I never thought that he was going to die. I never thought that, but I didn't know in what capacity he was going to be with me.
Right.
And, you know, we had never experienced any of this extended family, and boom, he's in a coma. And you're like, holy cripes, what is going on? And, you know, just the things I learned as to how they know if your loved one is brain dead or not, and they're in a coma, you know? So, yeah. There's a lot of people are like anti-healthcare system, whatever. And I'm like, there's a time when you need the healthcare system, and you just have to be able to manage and see your way through it. Steve will say, because the neurosurgeon's like, one of the things that they said is that we weren't sure you were understanding the magnitude of how serious it was. They were explaining, and they're like, does she understand what, you know, ventriculitis is? Does she understand this? And they're like, yeah, we explained it to her. And so I say, in my wheelhouse, I'm married to a former Air Force guy, and he deployed many times before this. And so I treated his coma as a deployment, because when he deploys or used to deploy, I didn't know when I would talk to him. And so I just carried on and did everything I needed to do. Obviously, the extra added layer of making major decisions was not something I had to do during deployment. But, you know, Steve said, you know, she's a military wife, and that helped. And he goes, that did help, because, you know, the last deployment, Steve was in Iraq, and I didn't know where he was. Honestly, I didn't know where he was until he came back, and it was 4.5 months. So, yeah.
Thanks.
And I'll say this too about Steve. He went through survival training in the Air Force because he was flight crew, and they were always told if you're shot down behind enemy lines, all this kind of stuff, you need to know how to survive. And that was a God wink between the two of us, is that he had the mental toughness to get through the rehab, because he had to relearn how to walk. You know, just 32 days took all of his ability to walk and everything away. So, coming out of the coma, I always say too, Hollywood doesn't do it justice. They think you just open up your eyes and boom, you realize everything. No, it took about 2 weeks for him to realize it was 2016, what month it was, where he was, all this kind of stuff. So, yeah. But we're blessed. You know, I say, I to this day, I talk about the God winks, and that's why I really love the title when Debbie mentioned it to me, because I'm like, that's exactly what the story is. You know, yeah, there's this medical health story in the middle of it, but it's a story of, you know, just kind of having the faith and knowing the right thing, the right end will, the right outcome will happen. So.
Oh, wonderful. Well, we're very grateful you were here with us today, Rhonda. Thank you so
Me
much.
too. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Yeah.
So what we'll do now is we'll just go around, and I'll just follow the Brady Bunch screen again. Nobody moved this time. Normally everybody kind of shifts around. So Susan, what would you like to share with us?
Well, I just want to invite you all again to come to the launch of the new chapter. Be nice to see all the friendly faces again. And if you'd like to speak, I put the link in there earlier. So come speak to the group, and let's make a Wednesday version of this Friday morning. Wonderful group of people.
Wonderful.
Today.
Well, good luck on Wednesday. I'll be with you in spirit. And Margaret.
Thank you, everyone. Rhonda, thank you again for that. And it was a good reminder that I've got all the other things in order, but I've got to get the power of attorney. That's the one thing that's missing. One of the other things I want to do is invite you to order, and I've got to get up and get it. I wasn't prepared this morning. For those of you who may want Mother's Day gifts or whatever, the Gratitude Journal is a perfect little gift at $9.99 at margaretmartin.com. So I invite you to order, or you can order direct from Amazon. Either way, happy if you would give that some consideration for and for friends' birthdays. That's a perfect thing too. Sorry, it's garbage day in case you hear this.
Thank you, Margaret. Judy Kane.
Yes, hi. So I don't have any asks today, but I did want to do some shout outs. I am like triple loading up my marketing efforts. So I've got Debbie and Susan and Jill all giving me different aspects of advice. I've done some videos that I've actually sent out and put places. I'm doing all sorts of weird and strange things for me. So I'm really curious about how this is all going to end up. Had my last You Connect Nurture with Mary Beth. That was such a great series of classes. I did the You Connect and the Nurture, and they were great. The animals are a little unnerved now that we can communicate. And I had a great swap with Nancy. Got some good insights from a session with her. So yeah, this is such a good group.
Thank you, Judy. Rhonda, do you have anything that you'd like to add?
I'll just reiterate, I'm here to help. I'm here to go through. I know sometimes when you're talking about health and personal stuff, you don't want to mention other stuff in a group. So just know that I'm available to help you with a strategy session.
Wonderful. Thank you so much again for being here.
Sure.
Kelly Lutman.
Good morning, Rhonda. Thank you so much for that wake-up call. I get you with the military wife background. That was my background also. And I've got to ask, because I went ahead and signed up and got the confirmation. In Highlands Ranch, do you know John and Sarita Holzman, perchance?
No, I don't.
No, okay. They're the owners of Sunlight Curriculum, who I worked with in my second career. This is my third. And when I saw Highlands Ranch, it's like, oh, I know that area, very well.
And we've been here 18 years. I know quite a few people, but yeah, it's exploded.
There's always more people than you think, So anyway, I do want to invite everyone, if you haven't already, to go to my website, Pursue Wellness for You, and sign up for my newsletter. I send out a newsletter every 2 weeks. I'm patting myself on the back. I'm in my 6th year of every 2 weeks. And Dang, some days it's hard, but keep it going. So short article, recipe, updates on things that I'm doing, things that are available. So if you have the opportunity and would like to get that, you can always unsubscribe, you know, but I'd love to have you as a part of my email list that way. And I have to bug out because I have to be somewhere else in a few minutes. But thank you, ladies. And thank you again, Rhonda. I'm looking forward to checking out that checklist.
Yeah, absolutely. And share it with your friends here in Highlands Ranch.
Okay, I will. I will.
Thank you, Kelly. Mary Beth Decker.
Thanks, Rhonda. So I'm a dual. I'm a retired Navy, and I'm married to sailors. So I got both. Husband on the Midway, 3 months deployment. All that. I know what you mean. You do it. You just do it. It's really good to hear this. My first husband died of a heart attack when my kids were 8 and 10, 20 years ago, 21 this year. And you know what? It's good to plan.
It is.
It's good to plan. There's no way around it. I'm glad you got a better outcome, you know. What a gift. I got to tell, just a quick one. Second husband, I had to update my wills because I got him to update his will because he's now got stepkids. And I wanted to make sure my wealth went to my kids, not his sisters and their kids. So, I mean, it was really important that he update his will. And he was glad to do it. I mean, it's no fighting about it. It's just, you know, got to get it done because you want your stuff to go where you want your stuff to go. That's the bottom line. So thank you for that.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I got to look at my stuff. I did a wonderful session with Judy Kane. Judy, that we did some beliefs about numbers and all kinds of stuff and asking for help. And it's just been a breeze this week. You know, I open up open rates. Susan Rose, yes, is helping. And I open up even looking at what's in my accounts, and it's there's so much less drama going on. So thank you, Judy. I got Nancy and I are going to be working together today. So one thing I'd like to ask, if you know anybody who thinks they'd like to start communicating intuitively with their cats, dogs, horses, hamsters, guinea pigs, I have had an incredible rate of success. Everybody in my classes start connecting with their animals. So if you know anybody who wants to do that, I got a new class starting and I'll put the information down here. And thanks again, guys.
Wonderful. And yes, I second, third, and fourth that. She does have a huge success rate. I'm the happy recipient of that as well. Jennifer. Why am I yelling everybody's name like that?
Singing this morning. Morning again. Rhonda, that was great. And I think I chimed in a lot just because I've been in not as serious of situations, but I think my family's kind of sickly. So we're all in and out all the time. And you got to be your own advocate, and you just got to fight for that and not just let them sweep you away and do whatever they think is right. And I just wanted to say, like, one little thing my mom always taught me. She's like, you know, if you can't come to that decision, you're at the doctor's office, ask them what they would do and what they would ask their mother to do or their sister. Because then they'll just, you know, they get right to it instead of like, well, they get wishy-washy and you have to figure it out. You have to figure it out. And so I always go to that one when I'm in those situations or whatever. But thanks for sharing your story. I'm going to check out everything you have to offer. That book sounds great that you and Debbie wrote and pulled up together. And so thank you for sharing that. And I'm Jennifer. I'm from Golden, and we've been in Florida about a year. So we're enjoying the nice warm weather down here. I know it's getting warm up there now.
We don't have any humidity. That's all I say.
Yes, I know. So I do your back end content. So if anybody's interested in getting that off of your plate, give me a ring. And thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you. Nancy Lena Ruth.
Hello, Rhonda. Thank you so much. That was inspiring and a bit of a kick in the butt. So I appreciate that. I have figured it out. I was going to wealthypeople.com instead of the wealthy people.
Yeah.
Now I got it. So I'll get your checklist, and thank you for that. And thank you, Judy Kane. We covered 4 different areas in the session she did for me, and apparently my subconscious had been laughing at me, and it was good, and I learned a lot about me, and that there's still more to be done, always more to be done. So thank you very much for that, Judy. I wanted to have a 3-video series that I've done, but it's in post-production, as it were, with my husband putting it all together, that I'm having for a giveaway for a thing I'm doing tomorrow, speed coaching. And I was going to have everyone check it out and see what they said, but it's not done yet. So next time. But if you or anyone you know is struggling with that, well, what have I been getting lately? It's been a bunch of people saying they've got old rules from growing up around wealth consciousness and not allowed to have, and I'm getting that a lot lately. There's a lot of people who, and I'm one of them, who just grew up with the, nope, we can't have that. We're not allowed. It doesn't have to be that way, and you don't have to be stuck with it. So send them my way if you hear of them. Nancy@unblockresults.com. Thanks.
Nancy, what you can do if you'd like is when that is ready, put it in the Virtual Networkers online Facebook group. You can put it in the 600 one, and you can put it in the main one, and then people can check it out for you ahead of time.
Cool.
Okay.
I will do that. Thank you.
Sure. So I'm not going to ask for anything today other than, if you know anyone that wants to write a book, you know where to find me. And but I want to give a couple of shout outs. First of all, to Jennifer. She's been doing some of my Facebook content, and it has just been, she just gets me and gets my vibe. She came prepared, and she's doing an amazing job. So thank you for that, Jennifer.
I'm glad it's working. You're very sweet.
Yeah, and it was better than what I was doing, which was.
I know. Sometimes you just need somebody to pick up that.
Just the back end, and I've just finished the Mary Beth's UConnect class, and I have seen changes in behavior. I've seen some going back on behavior, but I just am able to connect with my animals so deeply. And it's been really interesting. I'm in the process of training my puppy, Fergus, who is not in the room today to describe this. And the trainer said she's been training pets for 30 years and she's never seen a dog so responsive. And I believe that it's because he and I are so connected. He responds okay to her. She's very normal, but when it's me, it's like he is just on it. So hopefully that will continue when there are no snacks involved.
I doubt it. Murphy is all about the treats.
Yeah, so we're working on it. But yeah, so I mean, and I could speak about all of you because I know all of you and I have had the privilege of working with you, but I want to be conscious of our time, so I'll brag on the rest of you later. So thank you again, Rhonda, for being here on a wonderful Friday. So have a great weekend. Again, Jill will send this recording out, and Rhonda, you're welcome to share this with your people if anyone's interested. And good luck on Wednesday, Susan. Everybody go and celebrate the kickoff of 6:02 on Wednesday afternoon. And I will see you all next Friday when I will be a homeowner.
Good luck. It's amazing. Thank you so much, Debbie, for hosting today in Jill's place. You did an awesome job.
Thank you.
And good luck with
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I'm not moving yet, but I'm signing the papers today.
Oh, that's a big day. So
day. So
Good
thank
for
you.
And
you.
Debbie had a great, was it on your Facebook page where you did a little live, or was it on Instagram?
Yeah, it was Facebook, my personal Facebook page. Thank you.
That was fantastic. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank
Awesome.
you very much. All right, everybody, have a great weekend, and we'll see you next Friday. Same bat channel.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye. Have a great Friday.
Thank you.
Debbie, can I have a word with you? Just
Sure. Let me stop the recording.
Okay.